My writing process is not set in stone. There are times I can write a novel in 30 days through National Novel Writing Month, or a script in 30 days in April. Other manuscripts take years to evolve. Some books can be written in a matter of months or much less. I let my creativity define my timeline and continual creative process. And the tips that I would offer, pretty simple. Write, research, read, revise, edit, and trust your voice. A lot of writers don't trust their voice, they give it to somebody else. And I don't ever want to give my voice to somebody else. I want, if I'm going to show somebody a manuscript, I want them to make changes that are not going to change the way I speak, the way I write. That's important to me. And of course, I've helped a lot of students with their manuscripts, so if anybody wanted to call me, I've helped a lot of other people get published and win awards like I have. And one of the other things too is to get a mentor. If you have somebody that you know that writes and they're willing to help you, work with them. Because I've had mentors my entire life, and if it wasn't for my mentors, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Because every genre that I've gone into, whether it was journalism, photojournalism, technical writing, I wrote in the military, I had people that I learned from. So I didn't just walk into this one day and say, hey, I know how to do this. I always knew how to write, but I didn't know the technique. So it's really important to do that. And let's see. And again, don't be afraid to follow your writing dreams. I've had people tell me, why write? It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money. One of the biggest things was poetry. Why are you wasting your time with poetry? You'll never make any money. Well, I've proved everybody wrong. Not only have I made money, I've won money. And as a writer, I always tell other authors, be competitive, submit to contests, do whatever you need to do to get your words out there to be read. Doesn't matter who reads it. It's a matter of being out there. And I've won awards, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, local. I won Writer's Digest a few years ago, 12th place in the nation. I was very happy. But again, you've got to look at writers as people that have gifts. If you want to be a scientist, if you can't write, you can't read, there's no books. So I've met writers that want to write science textbooks. I'm like, cool. Doesn't matter what your genre is. Kind of changed what I was going to say today, but again, if there's an interest, if you want to write science fiction, talk to John, talk to some others. I don't know anything about science fiction, but that's about it for me. Thanks.
Another thing about mentors, if you drop a big coat, big spurt there. I think the process, someone said down there, they write when they get time. I think one of the things, I lead 2 adult writers groups and 2 kids writers groups. One of the things you have to sort of grasp is that if you're going to be a writer, you have to treat it as a job. I can only get things done if I say, these are my writing hours, I punch in, I write, and I punch out, and do the other stuff I've got to do. I think that's really important. Writing every day, if you can, is really important. Another thing I do is, I think you have to sort of write for a particular reader. I don't think you can just write stuff and throw it. I know people who do, they write stuff and just throw it out. It seems kind of aimless. I think if you visualize, I write everything I write for a guy named Hank in Teaneck, New Jersey. That's just how I work. But I think if you visualize who's going to read your work and constantly work with them, think about the emotions you're going to bring about, whether it's getting to laugh or getting to cry or whatever you need to do, whatever you're doing, I think you want to communicate to the writer or to the reader. The other thing is to keep, you should journal. I think everybody who wants to be a writer needs to write ideas down. I write them on scraps of paper and backs of receipts and things like that. I'm not very coordinated with it. I know people who keep, I know a lot of people, probably some here, that keep beautiful journals. And I think whatever you do to just take those random thoughts and then read them, go back to those thoughts, there's a ton of material there, that, and some of it's totally nonsense too, so which can be fun.
I may be one of those more organized people you were talking about. Yeah, I put it on a Word document on a computer. My writing process, sort of like Cheryl's, it changes based on whatever project I happen to be working on. But generally, I'll have an idea, and then I brainstorm about that idea for the possibilities. And then I start coming up with ideas for the characters who can take the lead in that story. And then I start building a plot outline, and then just kind of mold it like a sculptor would mold a piece of clay, and twist and turn it. And I don't necessarily get too much detail in my outlines, unless it happens to come to me. I also do research in the beginning, for the most part. And then from there, I do first draft, and I try to get that done as quick as possible. I don't do any editing. I go start to finish. Then I let it sit for 6 weeks and work on something else. And then after that period, I come back, and I start on revision. And I go from large topics down to the small. So I'll read through it the first time looking at characters, trying to build and mold those characters into more three-dimensional characters for the story. Then I'll go through the next time, and I'll read it with an eye on plot. Is this plot logical? Do I have all the necessary information? Am I foreshadowing here, etc.? And then I just go right down the list, setting, theme, and finally get down to the polish, which, after I'm done polishing it, and I think it's good, then I'll sign up with a professional editor, and then we'll go through revision again. That's my general process. As far as tips, has been mentioned already, read a lot. Don't just read genres you like, read broadly. Don't try to analyze what you're reading. It will sink in, and it will come out later as you write and as you learn. Write every day. You must. You have to. If you want to be if you're serious about your writing, you have to write every day. Be it with a journal, a diary, little doodads that you just jot down, ideas, whatever it is. Write somewhere every day. Never stop learning the craft. Never. I might be reading a novel for my own enjoyment, and at the same time, I'm reading a book by Donald Mass talking about the fire in fiction, or reading On Writing by Stephen King, the memoir of the crafter. Always learn. Always never get so presumptuous and arrogant that you think you've learned all you can learn. That's the only way to grow as a writer. But having a mentor or somebody you can work with, getting into that fiction group, if that's what your specialty is, or some type of writing group, very important. You learn a lot that way. Not only receiving critiques from your peers, but also learning how to critique and work on editing for other people. It makes you grow. But that's my advice.
For me, how I started was I brainstormed. I brainstormed what genre I wanted to write about, and I brainstormed all my characters. And then I did a lot of research for The Crossing. I watched several documentaries on illegal immigration. I looked a lot of information up on the internet. My dad's friend is a Border Patrol agent down in Arizona, so I interviewed him also. And then once I have all my research, I start writing. And I write on a computer. And then after I'm done writing, I go back and change some things. And then I review it, I edit it, then it goes to my professional editor. And after that, it usually goes to my agent. And my agent is in New York City. And if you're serious about writing, definitely get an agent, because agents do most of your work. They'll send it to publishers around the area. They'll book your book signings, your TV interviews, your radio interviews, your newspaper articles, and he usually gets like 10% of the profits. And then after that, you know, they took it to my publishing agency. And the tips I would give to those serious about writing is follow your dreams and to never give up. Because if you give up, you're never going to go anywhere.